in southern Spain ahead of round 5 of MotoGP in 2025 as our European leg officially kicks off after 4 exhilarating rounds, which sees Marc Marquez lead the World Championship by 17 points over brother Alex Marquez, teammate and rival Pecco Bagnaia 26 behind to number 93. As we arrive here, Louis Suddaby, who joins myself, Jack Appleyard, for the next half an hour. We've got some special guests coming up we'll tell you about in a minute. Arriving here, hoping for more of the same from last year. We were treated to another Jerez classic 12 months ago as Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia went toe-to-toe. We'd love to see more of the same.
Well, last year's Spanish Grand Prix is how many of us expected 2025 as a whole to go this year, with Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia going head-to-head. We saw that briefly in Qatar in the race itself, but that's kind of been the exception rather than the rule so far. Marc Marquez has had the edge on Pecco Bagnaia. It's been more than an edge, if we're being truthful, so far. But this is a circuit where Pecco Bagnaia has got such a strong record. Winner of the last 3 Spanish Grand Prix, very nearly 4, of course. He was second to Jack Miller the year before that, back in 2021. So this historically is Pecco Bagnaia territory, but he really does need to overturn an advantage that has seemed insurmountable on some occasions so far this season. Pecco seemed to be closer to Marc in Qatar and then blew it all in qualifying. Yeah,
that was what the weekend hinged on in the end, that crash in qualifying which left him down on row 4 of the grid. He was unable to come through in the sprint on Saturday, complaining that he feels that they found an answer, that smaller fuel tank which they have to use for the sprint, changing the balance of the bike and not allowing him to have that confidence under braking, which sees him on Sunday, even after a poor qualifying, surge through and overtake riders at ease. He just hasn't had that feeling in a sprint ever since the format was introduced, what now, 2.5 years ago. So they had time to try and work it out, but still searching for answers. You feel that, again, he's going to have to qualify well. But 2 weeks ago, we stood here and said, this is Pecco Bagnaia's big opportunity. It's a circuit which he's got a good record at. And Marc Marquez even surprised himself. I think we'll look back at the end of the year potentially and feel like Qatar was the key moment potentially in the season. If Marc Marquez not only can win there, but can take pole, can take the sprint, and in the end, take the Grand Prix at ease. I mean, the pace that he was able to put down in those final 5 laps, Maverick Viñales, who we're going to hear from, was saying it was just exceptional. Alarming for everyone else.
Alarming for Marc Marquez's rivals. If you look back through the season that we've had so far, Marc's big advantage, of which he has several of them, let's be fair, is at the end of the races. We saw it in Thailand and in Argentina, where he was quite happy to sit behind Alex Marquez, knowing that when the tyre started to drop at the end of the race, Marc Marquez would be able to maintain a pace that the others couldn't, and was able just to pull clear at the end. We saw that against Maverick Viñales and Pecco Bagnaia to a certain extent in Qatar as well. So Marc has that key advantage late in races. He's very good over one lap. He's had every single pole position so far this year, every single sprint win so far. It is very, very difficult to find any sort of weakness at the moment in Marc Marquez's game. And of course, this is a circuit that Ducati have pretty much had all to themselves in recent years. So Marc Marquez, without question, starts this weekend as the overwhelming favourite, even allowing for Pecco Bagnaia's recent record here.
Absolutely, and it could be a historic weekend as well for Ducati as they look to match Honda's record from just under 30 years ago when they won 22 straight Grand Prix. That record going all the way back to here 12 months ago, was it not? Because of course, if this was the first one after Maverick Viñales, who we're going to touch on right now, took victory in Austin. It's been quite the run for Ducati, and it looks like it'll take something very, very special for it to not be 22 this weekend, and it'll take something very, very special for that run not to extend on through for the remainder of the season. It's difficult to see where Ducati's key opponents are going to come from, and maybe it'll come from this man as we welcome our guest,
Hello.
Mr. Aleix Espargaró, who we welcome to the grid this weekend. Nice to be back.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Very, very happy to be here, to feel the atmosphere again. Just felt a bit strange when I came back into the paddock with my family, with my kid, my wife, but we are all very happy to be here. I feel very very honored to be able to wear these colors. It's unbelievable to be a HRC rider, so hopefully I can have fun during the weekend.
We're just talking about the people that are closest to Ducati, those that can challenge them. Well, in Qatar, it was Honda. Johan in the end finishing 4th with that penalty for Maverick. What a start to the season it's been for Honda and HRC. That the progress over the winter months is now evident in the results.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and the results obviously is clear because it's the way you prove that the bike is competitive, but also to hear some interviews to Mir and Lucas saying that they have fun again riding the bike after a long time. This makes me very, very happy. During the winter, with Romano Albesiano, we just tried to, to put all the puzzle together. We had a lot of stuff, a lot of chassis, different engines configurations, completely different aerodynamics, and we tried to make a puzzle and make the best base to start the season. And I think the base we have right now is good enough to have fun, but not good enough to win. So we have to keep working.
Over the years, so much has been spoken about the culture of the Japanese manufacturers versus the European manufacturers. Perhaps they're not getting the job done, getting the new parts of the bike as quickly as the European manufacturers. You've, of course, jumped from Aprilia to Honda, so I guess you've seen one side and you've seen the other. Is the culture now at Honda the culture that is going to bring them to the top and to accelerate that rate of development that they need?
I don't think that it was the Honda problem. Actually, when I rode the bike for first time in Barcelona, it was a big mess because I didn't know which bike I was riding. My bike was completely different than the others. So they really can't wait to be back on the winning time. So they are working hard, producing a lot of stuff, but maybe it's not just the right way. We have to step by step. First is step one, then step two, and with Romano we are trying to mix the cultures. The Japanese culture, I love it. Is really for me the best one to work with. But sometimes you need the push. You need some fresh ideas from the European mentality, and this is what we are trying to do to mix both. And I think that we are working. We need time. We need time, but it's just a matter of time that Honda will fight for the victories again.
In terms of what we see for you this weekend, if I know you and I know your character, you're not coming to make up the numbers this weekend. I know that you will be as determined as ever to show that you've still got the quality to fight with those top guys. Excited?
Yeah, I mean, for one side, obviously, I'm still feeling a rider, and once again, I'm feeling that it's an honor to be HRC rider, so I have to deliver during the weekend. But really, I'm not really in that mode again. I mean, the thing that I will love the most is to see Joan and Luca winning races, fighting for the podiums. I think this is the best trophy for the test team, everybody in the HRC test team. But for sure, from tomorrow, I will try my best. That's clear. And anyway, it's not going to be easy because the championship already started. I just did one test in the last 2-3 months, so it's going to be a big challenge.
I've got a couple of cheeky questions before you go. Luca in Qatar said that Honda were bringing something big for the test. I imagine you've tried it already in Valencia. Was it a new engine, and how was it?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, Honda is not stopping. The goal is clear. They are fully mentality to go winning again. So obviously my RSV will not be the same as Joan and Luca during this weekend. I have a lot of new stuff, and hopefully I can prove that it's a little bit more competitive, and they will receive it in the near future.
At that Valencia test, this is completely different, but the Yamaha riders can't say anything to us. You were there when they tested that V4. Did you see it as a fan? Were you there looking to see and try hear the differences?
I could not see anything, but for sure when we were sitting in the garage, we could spot when we were riding both engines, because you can tell by the sound, and it's promising. I love this game. I mean, I love to see the Japanese manufacturers putting everything together to be part of the game again, and as a Honda rider, hopefully we're gonna make it before than them. But obviously here everybody's working hard. Also KTM with Maverick, they did an awesome race in Qatar. Again, Yamaha and Honda working very hard. Aprilia, very bad luck with their champion, but also they prove with Ogura that they're working hard. So I think the championship is looking good.
Yeah, I just want to finish on Jorge. I mean, obviously we send him our best, and the injuries are one thing. From a mental side, how is he? I'm sure you've been catching up with him and speaking with him and trying to support him. How is he doing in this incredibly tough time?
Yeah, I mean, this is the most difficult part. Obviously, he had a big injury right now, so it will take time to recover physically, but also mentally. I mean, 3 months ago, he was in the top of the world winning the championship, and now he's in the hospital with riding the bike almost in a year. And obviously, during the next month, it will be matter of trying to recover the human person, trying to have fun during the summer break with him. And I said to him that he had probably the best, the most wonderful human team around him, and a very competitive bike. So he have to take time, recover, and I have no doubt that when he arrives, he will be competitive.
You speak about his human team. Last year you helped Jorge move from Ducati to Aprilia. You were sort of Albert Valera's assistant, helping out. A part of his team is also Pedro Acosta. Are you now helping to maybe negotiate for him to come to Honda next year?
No, I mean, no at all. It's still very early. Obviously, if I do my job as better as possible, I will help Honda to convince a top rider to join. I think Joan and Luca, they have a lot of potential, and we have to believe in them because it's still the beginning of the season. So part of my job is to help them to win races, and if we win races, then it will be Alberto's side to choose the best rider possible. Pedro obviously is the talent of the grid. So yeah, we'll see. The future is going to be spicy.
Absolutely. Aleix, great to see you. Have fun this weekend.
Thank you very much. Ciao.
There we go. Great to be able to chat with Aleix Espargaró. And as we said, Lewis, he says there he's going to be testing some items. He's going to be in testing mode. I know for certain when that man puts his visor down, he's going to want to prove a point this weekend.
He's a competitor, isn't he? He is a fierce, fierce competitor. Was on pole position here a couple of years ago on the Aprilia, so he knows his way around this Jerez circuit, and what an asset he is to Honda with so much experience across many different manufacturers. Of course, he has played a huge role in bringing Aprilia to the stage where they are now, where they are in a position where they can sign the reigning world champion. And I know Aleix Espargaró took great pride in that they were able to attract Jorge Martín to that team. So yeah, I'm curious to see how he's going to get on, and there's no question that the Honda is perhaps the big success story of the season outside of Marc Marquez, of course, leading the world championship. And you floated the name of Pedro Acosta there. It's a measure of Honda's progress that's even being considered now, because in previous years that would have just been dismissed out of hand.
Absolutely. We also touched on Jorge Martín there as well. We send our best, of course, to the world champion. 11 rib fractures after that unfortunate collision with Fabio Di Giannantonio in the closing stages of the Qatar Grand Prix. The Spaniard still in Doha at the moment as he tries to recover from those injuries. Our colleague Kiko Giles caught up with Aprilia boss Massimo Rivola earlier today to get the very latest on Martín's condition.
Massimo Rivola, obviously no Jorge Martín here. How is he? Have you spoke with him? What's the latest?
Yep. The good news is that in 2 days' time we'll be able to fly with a medical ambulance, an aero ambulance, back to Madrid to get some checks at the International Hospital Quirón, and then after that we will see. So we are quite looking forward to that day and see how is he after the flight.
Is there a time frame for the recovery, given the extent of the injuries?
We are not even thinking about that, so we live, let's say, day by day, and after the checks he will get in Madrid, maybe we start getting some ideas.
Some people might think, well, maybe it's better he just takes the first half of this year off and comes back after summer. Is that an option? Is that something being discussed?
Let's see. We didn't discuss about that. We know that Jorge is fast everywhere, even in his body. We saw him in the last injuries that the recovery was much faster than that was forecasted. So let's see. The situation is this one. We need to take the opportunity of keep developing the bike with Sava, so that when Jorge will be back, he will find a better bike than it is now.
And just on that development, without your star rider, the reigning world champion, obviously without testing as well, because he missed a lot of the testing, how complicated does that make developing the bike?
It is complicated, but we need to do an extra effort. We know that it's not possible to replicate Jorge's performance, so we need to do the best with what we have, and again take a problem as an opportunity to growth.
Thanks, Massimo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there we go. Hopefully you heard the words there of Massimo Rivola, just saying that Jorge Martín will be flying back to Barcelona on Saturday to continue his recovery. Wouldn't be drawn on a timeline in terms of when he will return, although some members of the media confirming that looks like he'll be out minimum for the next 5 rounds, potentially returning, I believe, Assen, but I imagine, all likelihood, given the severity of the injuries, we might not see Jorge Martín until we return from the summer break in mid-August. Yeah, after what he's been through, I think that's probably going to be the correct call to allow him the time to fully recover, not only physically but mentally, after everything that he's been through at the start of the year.
Yeah, because once we get to Mugello, pretty much every Grand Prix that we have from there on into the end of the season is part of a back-to-back. We have Mugello followed by Assen, Sachsenring followed by Brno, so it's not an easy time of the year really, although Jorge Martín just wants time on the bike, which was part of the reason why he came back in Qatar. We also heard from Massimo Rivola earlier on in his press scrum with the written journalist, and he didn't agree that that perhaps Jorge Martín had come back too early. He felt that Jorge had come back at exactly the right time. It does, I guess, cast some extra light on the discussions we've already been having this season about the inability for Jorge Martín to test the MotoGP bike. That's even sharper focus now, of course, because he's not going to be able to ride a MotoGP bike now, potentially until the summer. First and foremost, though, putting all that to one side, we're just glad that Jorge Martín, in the grand scheme of things, is okay. Of course, it's all relative. He's in a lot of pain. Fortunately for him, he'll be back in Europe in a couple of days' time, but could quite easily have been an awful lot worse than it was. Just a guy who in 2025 is absolutely zero luck, and of course, we send him all of our very best. Yeah,
it draws the question for Aprilia about how they prepare for the future, because a lot is going to be now on the shoulders of Lorenzo Savadori. I put this to Massimo Rivola earlier as well. You look at KTM, for example, they've got Dani Pedrosa, they've got Aleix Espargaró, Jonas Folger, Yamaha. We've seen testing with Augusto Fernandez, Cal Crutchlow, Andre Dovizioso. When it comes to Honda, we've just heard from Aleix Espargaró. They've got Taka Nakagami, who's coming here. Stefan Bradl still doing the work. These other factories have huge testing outfits and can rely on a number of riders, whereas Aprilia in that department for the moment, you think are potentially just lacking and maybe need some help to take the weight off Lorenzo Savadori's shoulders. Massimo Rivola, when we spoke to him earlier, did say that that's not a huge priority right now, but definitely, I think at the end of the season, they're going to have to dip into the market and try and bolster that testing squad for instances like this.
If you think back to 2020, 2021 sort of time, they had Bradley Smith along with Lorenzo Savadori, and you can't really say that Smith was ever really replaced. They've just had the one test rider since then in the form of Lorenzo Savadori, who's going to be a busy man over the next few weeks. I guess they're going to treat that second factory Aprilia race seat as a bit of a test mule for the races to come. Of course, there's only so much they can do within the regulations. He's got to use Jorge Martín's engine allocation, for example, if he replaces him. So there's only so much they can do with all of that. But from a Aprilia point of view, you couldn't have really scripted a worse start for them with the new world champion. Marco Bezzecchi has had a decent start. If you're looking in the right places, there have been signs of optimism for Marco Bezzecchi. He just can't get a qualifying lap out of that factory Aprilia. Of course, Ayagura has shone as a rookie so far. Rafa Hernandez has had his problems. So we've not seen anywhere near the best from Aprilia so far in 2025. And without Jorge Martín as part of their riding roster, you wonder how long it is until we will see the best of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's continue our walk down towards KTM, Lewis, because our next special guest is one man that I'm very, very excited to be speaking to. Yes, the timesheets may say that he dropped down to 14th, was it, in the end, but in my eyes, in my heart, Maverick Viñales was a podium finisher in Qatar. Without doubt, the ride of the season so far from Top Gun, coming from absolutely nowhere to push Marc Marquez all the way. I mean, 2 weeks on, and I'm still not over what a magnificent job he did. As we said, it might say 14th on the championship, but I think in everyone's hearts, it was a podium for Maverick.
Yeah, Pecco Bagnaia got the 20 points in the trophy, but Maverick Viñales finished second in that Qatar Grand Prix as far as I'm concerned. The history books and the record books will say something else, and rules are unfortunately rules, and Maverick Viñales did breach the tyre pressure rules. But I said this during the race back in Qatar, we say so much about technical, we say so much about aero, we say so much about engines, about tyres, but sometimes there's no substitute for just raw talent on a motorcycle. And Maverick Viñales outrode that KTM. Now, he did make big progress. He said the warm-up in Argentina was a key point for him in his first season with KTM, where they made a big step with the balance of the bike. He's able to enter the corners like he wants now, or something much closer to the way he wants. We did see the progress and the potential in Austin. Never really got to show that, of course, because of the problems on the grid, and he had to start from the very back. So if you were looking in the right places, perhaps not as big a surprise as it might seem on paper, but I don't think any of us went into the Sunday night in Qatar expecting Maverick Viñales to lead the race and fight for victory.
No, absolutely not. I mean, the big question for Maverick now, who's going to join us in a second, is knowing Maverick, knowing what an enigma he is. I mean, I don't think anybody can truthfully say they have any idea where he's going to finish this weekend. If he was 14th, I don't think anyone would be surprised. If he was up there on the podium, I don't think anyone would be surprised. I mean, that is Maverick Viñales in a nutshell. he's able to pluck these results out of a thin air almost. And the big question and the thing that everyone has asked for him for years now is that consistency to do it time and time again. I'm sure KTM are hoping they're going to be the people to be able to drag that out of him. I mean, can you predict what we might see from him this weekend?
Not a Scooby, and it says a lot about how unpredictable Maverick is, that if you hadn't watched the race in Qatar, you just looked on Wikipedia the results and saw that he finished 14th, I guess you wouldn't have been completely surprised by that because of how his season had gone up to that point. But the ride itself in Qatar was absolutely incredible, and Maverick Viñales comes and joins us now. Welcome along, Maverick. Thanks for joining us. We're discussing your ride in Qatar. Whilst you didn't necessarily have the trophy and the points to show for it, just how proud were you of your ride on that Sunday night in Losail?
Well, we are happy with the result, but more happy with the way we are working, with the way we are learning, and especially the understanding we are getting with the bike. Obviously, it's a great way to put fire inside the factory to really keep working, keep developing, and this is very important for all of us to keep this motivation.
I mean, have you watched the race back? Have you enjoyed watching it back?
I watched it twice. Maybe, of course, not in the mood of enjoying it, on the mood of learning and improving. But it was nice to see again the speed, to see again that I can battle, you know, with the big names, and especially that we see some lights in KTM, which is very important, and we must concentrate on the correct things as we are doing.
I asked you in Parc Fermé, where did that come from? Then you said time. Now have you got an understanding of how that result sort of came to fruition?
It's nothing. It comes from scratch. It's something we are working on. We make a great improvement in Argentina. Then, unfortunately, in Austin, we had some technical problems during the start proceed, and I wasn't able to show the potential. But the lap times were great to be on a good step on finishing the race. And then in Qatar, obviously, I have more experience with the bike. Every time I'm getting better and quicker on the track, so I can concentrate for other things. And but again, I repeat, it's time and keep working, because still the bike is very new for myself, the team as well. So we need to keep believing in the process. Still is far from being at the maximum.
We're just seeing at the moment, I think I can hear the moment that you shared with your family afterwards as well. How special did that make it to have your wife and your two daughters there, to be able to share that moment with them? We saw some footage of them being sat on the bike celebrating with the team. I'm sure that made it even more special.
It's obvious that my family is my biggest point where I have, you know, the support. Especially it's my, as I mentioned, my point of support. It was good that we could enjoy a nice weekend. We enjoy as well out of racing, you know, in the mornings with the girls playing. So it was a kind of a weekend where you will remember forever. And it's important that they were there, because they are part of this game and part of my success. So yeah, it was good. We can see some joy, because it's important. We are a very competitive family. We all are very competitive. Even the little kids are very competitive. So it was good to have some joy.
It's all a process, I guess, for you on this KTM. You spoke a lot about time on the bike, understanding the bike. In terms of a percentage, where do you think you're at in terms of getting to full understanding and the full potential of yourself on this KTM? Where do you think you're at on that process?
It's hard to say, because every weekend I discover something new. I discover something that I can do for helping the bike in some areas. So every weekend it's something new for me. So also depending on the track as well, I can learn more or less. But I don't know. It's just a matter of being in the front constantly. I think this is what we will learn us much more. And then, you know, it's something I take. Obviously, it's a big challenge, the one I took from KTM. But it's a challenge I like to play. And I know I have to be especially smart and very calm, because at the end, something I always believe is that I have the speed and the talent enough to fight in the front. And Qatar once again showed that we can do a great result.
Big question finally, Maverick, the one that we want to know, everyone at home wants to know. Can you do it again Can you do it again this weekend now?
We will try, of course. As I mentioned, in Austin, I think was a weekend also to be close to the podium, if not fighting for it. And in Qatar, we were fighting for the victory. We don't want to put any rooftop or any idea where can limitate us. We need to really have an open mind and an open mentality to keep improving and keep, developing ourselves, because it's just 4 races with KTM, so it's quite new, and it's a completely different bike, completely different system, and different also personalities inside the team. So we must all fit together, but I think we are on a good direction, and all the pieces are matching really on a place.
Well, that dream of winning for 4 different manufacturers, becoming the first man to ever do it, is a dream that's definitely alive, Maverick.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's this weekend. Good luck.
Thank you.
There we go. Great to be able to chat with Maverick. I'm sure we'll have a good weekend as we get ready to focus on the press conference, which is coming up in a few moments' time. Marc Marquez, Alex Marquez, Pecco Bagnaia and Frankie Morbidelli. We should touch on Frankie. He was the man that did inherit 3rd place as a result of that penalty for Maverick. And you feel as though, just like Maverick is finding his mojo, Frankie is really getting his mojo back as well.
Second podium out of the first 4 Grand Prix for Frankie Morbidelli, and he led the Grand Prix and led it well in Qatar, although Marc Marquez wasn't too concerned by that in the early stages of the race in Qatar. Frankie Morbidelli certainly set a fast pace at the start of the race, which does bode well for him. Both of the VR46 riders going very, very well at the moment. Fabio Di Giannantonio would have probably been somewhere near that battle for the podium had he not had his collision with Alex Marquez during that race. We've said it all season, Ducati still very much have the bike to beat in MotoGP nowadays. Both the 25 spec bikes and the 24s all look super strong, and I don't think you can rule out any of the 6 from challenging for the podium here this weekend or better.
No, we saw Fabio Quartararo, of course, on the front row in Qatar. I think there's a belief that Yamaha will be, now we're back in Europe, be able to take a step. It does feel as though everything's coming together quite nicely for a good weekend. How do you see it playing out before we say goodbye?
It's going to be Ducati dominated, I think, at the front. I hate to break that to you viewers, but Marc Marquez looks super strong at the moment. He shows no signs of slowing down at the moment. This is quite a narrow, quite a tight track though, so the times are generally super close here. So don't be surprised if we see half second, 6/10 of a second covering the top 10 by the time we complete practice tomorrow afternoon. KTM have had success here in the past in sprints. Aprilia have also gone well here in the past, and Yamaha too. So I think the field will be pretty close, but it's still Ducati who start favourites.
Yeah, and it may well be the number 93 favourite of all of them at the top of the timesheets. That's certainly how things have gone so far in 2025. Again, it's another weekend where we ask the question, can anyone stop Marc Marquez as he continues to charge forwards in this 2025 World Championship? Well, let's hear from the man himself and 3 men that are hoping to beat him. Marc Marquez, Alex Marquez, Pecco Bagnaia and Frankie Morbidelli kick off the Gran Premio de España here in Jerez with Matt Burt.